to another podcast from another vintage day. I'm Ann Trotebas, joined today with Paige Graham. And today's podcast is going to go over a little bit of the magazine, that our quarterly magazine that'll soon be coming out in October. This is a huge project for us every quarter. There's so much research that goes into it. And I just have to give hats off to Paige because she does so much work. But as we get together and work on it, it is very enlightening. For one thing, we learn so many things, but sometimes it's just a total crack up and it's hard to get a lot of work done.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I will say about our magazine is, you know how when you get a magazine that you buy in the grocery store or at, like a Barnes and Noble or something, you get the first 10 pages are all advertisements. We have no advertisements in ours. Ours is total content. And this next one is going to be 90 pages of sheer content. So it really is, it is a lot of fun to do, and you learn a whole lot, but you also, there was a whole section of recipes toward the back that I just didn't realize how many of them had alcohol in them. What does that say about the holidays?
Well, and here's another thing, as far as, alcohol. I grew up in a family that did not drink, and there was never alcohol in our house. So there's absolutely no alcohol in any of our recipes whatsoever. And like when I keep saying, the Norman Rockwell family, that really was us. I mean, everybody got along. It was such a good time. As I grew up and saw other families, I understood the need probably for families to partake at the holiday season in order to come together.
Yes, there's a little stress involved sometimes. And we really are doing a lot of vintage recipes, and some of the terminology is a little interesting, that if you aren't thinking about it, you could maybe take it a different way than what it's meant. And sometimes it's stuff that you remember from your childhood. Like I remember my mom writing recipes and writing the word oleo, and who would know what oleo is today except for people our age, or people who have been told by their grandparents or their moms that that's margarine. And I guess it was for my mom, who was a nurse anesthetist, it was probably just faster for her to write oleo. But a lot of the recipes that we research have the word oleo instead of margarine.
And it was such a big thing when all that fake margarine and Crisco came out. I mean, it was like the best thing for women in the kitchen ever, besides supposedly TV dinners. But I'm used to lard and butter and all that good stuff, and then they kind of switched over, and well, I guess it was still good, but
it wasn't the same as when you had butter, because butter has just has a different consistency. The margarine is so watery, comparatively speaking, and it just, I would rather have one pat of real butter than an entire stick of oleo. Period.
Who can hold pack at one pat? I mean, if I'm in a restaurant and you can still get real butter pats, it's like, just keep them coming.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. So one of the recipes that Luann put in, she does a Scottish Christmas dinner, was the first thing that it said was peel the swede. And I got really tickled, and she had to put in parentheses next to it, that's a rutabaga, for people who don't know. And I knew what a rutabaga was because of my dad in World War II had been captured by the Germans. He was in the army, and in the POW camp, they had rutabaga soup and bread that had been packed in sawdust, and that was what they had to eat. So I knew what it was. It's basically a turnip, but when it said peel the swede, I cracked up. And when we were reviewing the magazine, we had our last review just yesterday, we both started giggling. And so I thought I would share what a swede looks like.
Yes, because not everybody's seen this vegetable.
No, that is very true. Not everyone has seen this vegetable, but I think that would be a swede that maybe someone would like to peel. And then there's one that's a little bit more revealed.
Paige, you are a bad girl.
I know, but this next one is a little bit more peeled.
Oh,
Except-
Lord have mercy.
Except that,
He needs to pull his pants up.
I know. I was just telling my friend Luann that when my students walked into a classroom, that if their pants were sagging, as they called it, I used to just get a zip tie and zip tie their belt loops together, because underwear is meant to be worn under your clothes, and I didn't want to see it. So,
Hallelujah.
yes, amen. So anyway, I just thought those Swedes were much more attractive to peel than a rutabaga. So there you go. That's the kind of Swede I would prefer.
Bad girl, good girl.
I'm wearing red. I mean, you know, you're wearing your virginal white, so.
You are so bad.
Well, you know, I thought that was kind of a fun one. And I think I counted, one of your desserts for your Scottish dinner had alcohol in it. And then, I don't know, probably 5 of the ones that I put in for the recipes at the end had alcohol. I just think maybe they are, they're stress relievers. I mean, I think you put a little bit in the recipe, and then you take a little bit for yourself, because, you know, you deserve it. You're the one in the kitchen.
Yeah, endlessly in the kitchen when it comes to the holiday season.
Yes.
I mean, good Lord, you know, try to get help as often as you can is what I say. But, you know, well, hey, maybe if you had, you know, say, come have a nip, and maybe you'll have more help in the kitchen.
You know, that's entirely possible. I think that maybe, you know, those people who have magazines and websites and such, and they feel the need to take pictures of the food that they are about to present to everybody. You know, I think that telling everybody, here, to have a drink while I get pictures of the food, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It works.
Hey,
it does.
It does.
Gets those creative juices flowing.
Yes, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hello, your cranberry sauce, because, you know, we try all of our recipes. We don't put anything in the magazine that hasn't been tried and tried and true, as they say, which I believe always come from the family anyway, and generally are. But if we'd like to try a few different recipes, I'm not accustomed to some recipes from the South, and that cranberry recipe, I took a spoonful of that, and it was way alcohol, way alcohol.
As I have told you multiple times, I'm morally opposed to cranberry sauce that maintains the shape of the can that it came out of. And I just don't understand that, because that's disgusting to me. And I have friends that say, I want the canned version. Don't ever give me anything else. That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, okay, then you have your version. I have mine. And mine, I just make mine with some good port wine. Makes perfect sense to me. Yeah.
I'd probably say it's a wee bit more than some.
Just some, a little bit, like about a cup. And that's one of those recipes that you sip a little while you are making it. So if a little splash extra goes into it, then that's just what happens.
Yeah. Let's just say it was hearty, very hearty.
But it's yummy. You put it with some turkey, it's very yummy.
Yeah, it would be very good. I'll admit that. But straight up, take a spoonful, and if you're not expecting it, wowee.
Yeah.
So if you want some wowee cranberries for the holidays, I highly recommend this recipe.
Well, I'm just going to say that I warned you. I don't think you realized how much was in it.
No. I did have to immediately go back and look at the recipe, because I was like, holy Cassavia, what's in this?
It's good. It's very good stuff. I guess I could cook it a little bit longer. I'm going to can some for people for Christmas presents this year. So maybe I'll just cook it a little longer. It might get some of the alcohol out of it, maybe.
I hope that's going to come with a warning label.
No, I like the surprise. It's so much more fun when it's a surprise and someone's, well, did you put some alcohol in this?
Very much so. But yeah, it helps with the holiday stress, probably.
Yeah, I would say so. And you mentioned something about choosing the most stressed person to do your mashed potatoes.
Oh yeah. If you want ideally smooth mashed potatoes, just look around the room, see who has the most stress they need to get out, or who's just, I don't know, having a little conflict with somebody else, and just hand them the masher, get them over the pot, and let them go.
Yep. Get after it.
Yeah.
I think that's
Best mashed potatoes you'll ever have.
And the other thing that we found was I found this vintage recipe. I'm not a sweet potato person. I don't like the sweet potato casserole with marshmallow crap on it. I can't take it. It's just not going to happen. My mom used to put the marshmallow crap on it like everybody else's mom and said, here, look at his marshmallows. No. So I found a really fun recipe that's called sweet potato balls. And it has a sauce that goes on top of it. But this was I don't know, a 1920 something book, cookbook. And when it talked about putting the sauce on them, it said, put as much sauce as desired on the balls. And I just kind of got tickled and said, I think I'm going to have to edit this a little bit. So I put the word sweet potato in front of the word balls so that people would not get confused as to what we were referring. And because no one needs to know about saucy balls. So we just needed to know they were sweet potato balls. I didn't need anybody to say, oh, this is not a nice magazine. So.
Yeah, but you know, Paige, it was your mind that went down that road.
Well, it was. Now you kind of giggled a little bit when I brought it up.
Once you explained it to me.
Well, there you were. You were wearing white yesterday too, so I was not.
So, but you know, here's just the other aspect, and I'm not saying that people were saints back in the day. I mean, there was some pretty bad stuff going on, but I think it was a little bit more of an innocence.
Yes.
Back then, where nowadays there's all of this stuff on TV, and it's just like always referring to that kind of thing.
Right.
That it's so easily to stumble into that and get a giggle out of it because we're exposed to so much of it.
Right. It's like my friend that takes his mom and dad, they're really elderly, like in their 80s. And his mom is kind of she's kind of a firecracker. And they were in the store and she's walking around in a sporting goods store and she's saying, David, did you need some thongs? And of course she's thinking flip-flops. And he's going, no, Mom, no, I don't. I mean, they also have a dog named Pot Liquor. Not because it drinks liquor, but because it licks the pot. So they called it Pot Liquor. And of course, everybody thinks that, so it just play on words. And I'm not real sure that his mom didn't do that on purpose because it would be like her to do something like that. But
oh dear,
she's a hot mess, but fun, lots of fun. So
yes, so many things we take in a different way.
Yes, so many things. So the other thing one thing that we put in the recipes is that some people call the cornbread that you put into the cavity of the turkey, they call it, like a cornbread stuffing. Mm-hmm. Well, in my house, we called it dressing. And then I kind of get giggly because then you start talking about dressing the turkey. Mm-hmm. And then that's another way of looking at it. So of course, I had to find, we'll get rid of the swede, but I had to find.
Oh, no, please don't.
I know. But this is how you dress a turkey. That's how you dress a turkey. Yeah, I know.
There we go.
I know. And then this other one was that I found was from the Reader's Digest, which can you see what it says? I know my little control is in front of it. Okay.
I do.
So, and she's got the cornbread down here by her behind. I thought those were cute. So
We are some weird people.
I know
Weird.
I get giggled about stuff. I can't help it. Just can't help
Do
it.
they even, is the Reader's Digest still in existence?
You know, I know when my husband and I first got married, I know that my mother-in-law got the large print version, you know, the ginormous letters, and which now I shouldn't giggle now, I would prefer to have those. But I know that she gets used to get that, but I don't know if she either doesn't take the little magazine anymore. But I know it was available in the early 2000s, but I haven't seen any since. But you know, all periodicals and stuff, everything is so online, you know, that
Right.
it kind of makes me sad because I actually like the feel of a book in my hand.
So
But
do I.
maybe that's just me.
And even restaurants are now coming to that. It's like they don't hand you a menu. They say, just hold your phone up there and scan this thingy. And I'm like,
yeah, or they have an online menu thing and you can pay like a little baby kiosk, you know, right there at your table. I'm like, you know, what is the waiter going to do? Just bring me my food?
yeah. And then he's going to want a tip.
Yeah.
But I'd like some personal service.
I'm surprised that I don't have to get up and go get it myself, you know. So, I don't know. I would rather tip the cook, you know, if it's right.
Yeah. I hope they share.
Yeah. So another recipe that had alcohol were my friend's grandmother's fruit drop cookies.
God, those were so good. Oh, if I recommend one cookie for the season this year, baby, that's the one.
It's the one. It's better than a whole fruit cake. And of course, that's a whole other ball of wax because not everybody's a fruit cake person. No pun intended, you know. But anyway, these have bourbon in them. And I have several recipes that have bourbon in them. I have a coconut, I have a coconut cake that the first word is not coconut, it's bourbon coconut cake. So that tells you how much more bourbon there is probably than coconut. But these cookies were so good. And I was so lucky that my friends were kind enough to give us the recipe to put in the magazine because it wouldn't have been Christmas at Christmas time at home unless we had Miss Inez's fruit drop cookies.
Mm-hmm. And I get that. They are so good.
They're yummy. So anyway, just a lot of recipes that had little alcohol in it.
I can tell you right now, my mother is probably rolling over in her grave.
Well, you didn't have any alcohol. You had ginger ale.
Yeah.
Yes, you had ginger ale. Just like
oh, you know what she would have said if she tried any of that? Well, first of the cranberries, she would not have said a word and she would not have eaten them. But everything else, she probably would have struggled through it. And if you asked her, well, did you like it? How was it? And she would say, it was different.
Oh, because she would never hurt anybody's feelings.
No, never.
Sweet, dear lady.
Yes.
But that's what the holidays are all about. The holidays, regardless of which one, whether it's Halloween or Thanksgiving or Mardi Gras or Christmas or any holiday, Valentine's Day, it's all about being with the people that you're closest to. And
yes.
And, it depends on how much time for some of those people that you spend with them as to whether or not you have any stress involved in that. So, so like I said, it just depends. And I think that we lose sight of the real reason that we gather. And to me, that's the real shame. I think that's the real shame.
And we've come into a world that has allowed us to live so far apart from each other that the family core is gone. I think that's going to be coming back. But I lived away for a long time and I had to make my own Christmas traditions, I decided. So anybody can do that, whether, it can be as simple as can be. You can take a walk downtown and look at all the windows every year, but as long as you do something you enjoy and you do it every year. Yep. Even if it's by yourself, it's your tradition.
That's it. my big thing is to, as my husband says, because I have 2 closets in our basement downstairs, and both of them are filled with Christmas. And so he says I turned my house into a winter wonderland. And I have 3 trees, and all of them are filled with, all 3 are filled with ornaments. But for me, every single ornament has a story that goes with it. So just like cooking in the kitchen at Christmas, I have traditional things that I cook, like my rum cake. There you go, another alcohol related recipe. But at least it's a different one, sometimes it's port, sometimes it's bourbon, sometimes it's rum, just depends.
Maybe you should put out a cooking with alcohol book.
Right. How to cook while drinking alcohol. But there are just certain things that I do at Christmas time and that I don't do the rest of the year. I think your favorite cake that I make has no alcohol in it, by the way. One of the few that I have, and it's the apple dapple cake. Got a caramel glaze on it, and that's her favorite. She likes it better than the rum cake, which people would argue about that, but I'm kind of with her on that. But I think it's because I make so many rum cakes for people, like for Christmas presents and stuff, that I'm like over it. I prefer making something that I don't make all the time, if I'm going to be partaking. But I like to make things that people like, that they look forward to having every year. So that and pralines, that's another one that I make, that I did not put that recipe in the magazine. Maybe I'll do it next year. But that and fudge, a really good thick fudge with pecans. I have to make everything with pecans so my husband doesn't eat it because he's allergic. Because there won't be any left for me to give to people. So, all that kind of stuff. I think that we have gotten so into the material things that we give to people for Christmas that I just remember always making jams, jellies, preserves, and baked goods to give to people for Christmas, because it was something that they didn't have to do themselves. It was something handmade. I used to do a lot of cross stitch and give that to people, or knitting. I used to do a lot of knitting and do that for people for Christmas.
Plus the food gifts, I think fell into a thing where people started thinking that they weren't a valuable gift to give to people because we became so monetized about what we buy for people. But I'm telling you, with inflation right now, bring on the food. Yeah,
there you go.
Sugar,
there you
jam,
go.
that's a pricey little baby right there.
Well, and it's just, it's kind of like one of the things that we point out in the magazine is that because it's about getting together with your loved ones, and one of the things that we do is, everybody always ends up in the kitchen, because whoever's in the kitchen is the one having the most fun, and they're getting other people to help. Maybe the challenge, because we always have a challenge for each of our podcasts. Maybe this podcast challenge is that whichever holiday makes you happy, float your boat, get your family to come into the kitchen and help make it a fun time for everybody. I mean, I don't know about you, but I can't get through any cooking in the kitchen without doing quality control, Inspector 007. So I just think that that's an important part of the holiday, of any holiday, is.
And it's hard to let go of that control. I was very much like that early on, but now it's like, come on and help, please.
Yes. And it's just, it's about spending time together, doing something and creating something with a loved one. It makes a memory, so, and it's not something that you can, it's not something that you can, that you can ever have time to do again. Time is the one thing you can't get back. So you need to spend it with people while you have it. So
yeah,
that's your challenge. Start figuring out your menu for whichever holiday and figure out who you're going to get in there to help you do it. Make it.
Yeah, and even if it's, you might even look at, because some things can be made ahead of time. You might want to get a couple of friends, which can also be your family, together,
Yes.
and do your bar and cookie baking thing, all together.
I
If
I
you
like
have the
I like the
facility to
bar
do that.
part.
Mhm. Oh, I like bars. Yes, they go fast.
No, I meant the have a little sidebar.
Oh, Paige, there you go again.
You said bar, and I went to alcohol again. People go think I'm an alcoholic, and I don't even drink that much. I just put it in all my food.
Puts it in the food. I swear it's true.
Well, I just think that would be a great challenge, and the only way that you can make it happen is by saying what, Miss Luann?
Oh, let's open the bar and bake cookies.
Absolutely. I think that's a go.
Yep.
Yep.
And you might have to start practicing early on for the season. So,
Oh,
do it anytime. And it's also, when was the last time you baked something and took something over to your neighbor?
Absolutely. I do it all the time. They see me in the UTV coming, and they're like, "Oh," and I have my basket, and they know with all my little stuff in it, all tied up with little ribbons, and they'll with a little card that says "Happy Fall, finally it's here." So I do it for every.
You have to be the best neighbor ever.
Well, we have kids in the neighborhood, and they had to go back to school, so I sent them a thank God you survived the first day chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, God bless your soul, Paige.
They were very excited, let me tell you.
I'll bet.
So I'm not worried about your second day, because they probably had to push you into the car for the second day, but the first day you survived. There you go.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good thing. I think that's a good challenge.
Yep, there you go. So all you got to do is say, let's do it, and make sure you have a good time doing it. The whole point is to have time, spend time with loved ones, make some memories.
Yes, because that's, in the end, is all you really have.
That's right. It's the most valuable thing.
Yes. Oh, we have so many things to talk about as this magazine is rolling out that we need to bring to you. It's just, Halloween was such an eye-opening experience to me. I can't wait to talk about that one.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Oh, and wait till you hear about trick-or-treating in North Dakota in the winter. It's so much fun.
Can't even envision, because I'm from Louisiana, and we could barely have on a costume. Sweating to death.
We are going to be two totally extremes on that one.
Yes, we
the
are.
North and the South, trick or treat.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, guys. Well, fun chatting with you. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm sure you have really fun stories or recipes you'd like to share with us. We would love to have you do that. So put them down in the comments. If you're on Patreon watching this, we'd certainly love it. We're still up on YouTube. If you're seeing this in another location, you can see us on Instagram, or come over and help support us on Patreon, and that's Patreon/Another Vintage Day. And we'll see you next time right here on Another Vintage Day. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
If you would like to be a part of this community, come on over to Patreon, where you will be able to access the quarterly magazine, podcasts, and so much more. That's patreon.com/Another Vintage Day, all in one word. Living your vintage lifestyle all begins with saying, yes, let's.